So now that we've introduced you to the system and established how it works and shown you the user interface options, what most people use, modular, drag and drop, or really just told you, hey, you can do anything you want if you do a custom, let's look at that piece of hardware that goes into the hands of the user. The iOS app for Compass Control Pro can be downloaded for free. So just open up the App Store and search Compass Control, and you will see that. And it's going to be the best sales tool that you have for Compass Control, other than, of course, your actual experiences, because then you could show them what you've done in the past, and that's super exciting stuff. Because it is an iOS app, you know, the great thing is users are so accustomed to just flicking left or right or swiping or pulling their finger up and down, and you can do that in Compass Control. We give you the elements for that through your programming, through a list or a slider, for example. And you see these list of 6, 7 different applications. Well, it's not just a pretty graphic. You can press each of those. That's a button to enter a demo for that specific application type. And then once you begin building up your repertoire of installations, you could actually add those into the archive. Each iPad could have up to 12 projects archive, where you can actually switch over into that. Say you have a job site that you're kind of going in and out of, you could just add that to your archive, and anytime you enter there, you can press the load from archive button to begin controlling, or just using it as a demonstration for that those potential sales opportunities. Now, each iOS, you know it's an app, you know the app has demos. How do you load your program into the iOS device, right? Well, that starts with the device ID. Every Compass Control iPad has a unique device ID. This is found in the Compass Control app, okay? And so when it comes time to program it, you can see there, oh, this is the device ID of that iPad. So let me make sure I type this in as a property of that iPad, because when it comes time to load it, as we'll show you, that's where it's going to go. The device ID needs to get married to a license. The app is free, but there is a cost for activating each controller, right? And that is done through our license, KD Pro CL, KD Pro CL1, KD Pro CL4, KD Pro CL6, and KD Pro CL8. Pro Compass license 1, 4, 6, or 8, because you do have multi-packs, which help you increase your profit margin. So you take the device ID of the iPad, you go to our website, you know that plus your registration key, which we could even email to you, or you do get a physical, like a bifold, almost like a gift card, and you type, start with the key, and then next to the device ID, now it's activated, and it'll give you the success message that you're ready to program to that iPad or load to that iPad. Now, that device ID, unfortunately, is not automatic just by generating Compass Control or by downloading the Compass Control app. You do actually have to generate that device ID. And it can be done 2 ways. The iPad could just shake hands with the master controller on site. So if you have an existing job site, the customer wants to add another iPad or 2, they could do that without you going out there, as long as they know the IP address of one of the master controllers, any of the master controllers. They could type that in. So often people leave a label on their master controllers of, hey, here's the IP address. Or, your customer is likely going to call you and say, we want to add an iPad. How do we do this? And you can tell them, all right, here's the step-by-step. And we actually have a video tutorial on this. Now, the other option is, instead of the iPad shaking hands with the master controller, let's say you don't have the hardware on the network yet, the iPad can also shake hands with a PC, Windows PC, running the Navigator programming software for Compass Control Pro, as we'll show you here shortly. And for both of these methods, you must have either 192.168, a 10 dot, or a 172.16 through 31 type network to generate that device ID. And once that handshake, as I'm calling it here, takes place, you're going to have that device ID. And just make sure you follow that tutorial, because there's a few steps that you have to take to getting that done. And now your iPad is licensed. So how do I get the project in? Well, I do my programming on Compass Navigator PC software. either modular or custom. And when I'm ready to go, I upload it to our to the Compass Control server. Because of course, Apple doesn't really like you to connect your USB into the iPad and load something into the iPad, right? It doesn't really work that way. So you load the project from your PC programming software. It's programmed in a computer, not programmed on the iPad. And it goes up to our server. And when it goes up to the server checks, okay, let me make sure every device ID that's in this program is licensed. Otherwise, hey, you don't have access to the server, right? So, so it checks the device ID, and now it's up there in our server. Now, the user or the integrator, they press a button in the Compass setup menu that says load from server. It's going to say, hey, server, here's my device ID. What is the latest project that's loaded to the server for me? And it retrieves that. So it's all time stamped, right? And it retrieves that, and now it's in the iPad. So this is a larger look at the setup menu of the Compass Control app. You press projects, load from server, and then it's a step-by-step process, actually. The first step, very quick usually, is it connects to the server. Or if you're not online, or for some reason your firewall is blocking our server, it's just an Amazon web server we're actually using. Then it'll fail, but typically it's very fast to connect to the server. Then it begins loading the project. You go through 0 to the 100% there as well, and then you actually have to press the button, either update master controller, or you can just run it as a demo, a GUI demo only. So you're able to just, this is those scenarios where you really just want to show your client, or maybe you just want to make sure everything graphically is working in your testing before finalizing your program, right? This is how you would do it. So once you press that next, update master controllers, then actually the iPad syncs all of the project info into each of your master controllers. And it provides a list of authorized device IDs. So if there's 5 iPads in the system, here's what they all are, so that the master controllers know who is allowed to communicate with it. Because that's part of the header. When the iPad communicates to each master controller, there's a header that says, hey, here's my device ID. And if it's not an authorized device ID, it's not going to work. Obviously, the iPad's going to ignore it. And that is kind of a additional security mechanism built in to Compass Control against unauthorized use.